You're born in a house where dinner table conversation is tax code. Your father's an IRS auditor. Your mother's an IRS auditor. You become an IRS auditor. 10 years hunting tax cheats, dismantling shell companies, putting billionaires in prison cells. You learn every trick in the book, which means you learn how every trick works. The pay is garbage. You quit to open your own practice. It fails. Clients don't trust a former Fed. You discover online poker to take the edge off. You're good at it until you're not. You lose $85,000 to people who don't send collection letters. They send visitors. 2 men show up at your office on a Tuesday morning. Polite, professional. One sits across your desk like he's a potential client. The other stands by the door with his arms crossed. You owe their employer $85,000 plus interest. The number is now $112,000 and climbing. You explain, hands shaking, that you don't have it. The seated man smiles. They're not here for money. They know you can't pay. They're here because you have something more valuable than cash. You have skills. Their employer has a business problem. Too much revenue, not enough paperwork. You're going to fix that. It's not a request. Your first job is simple. A restaurant owner, one of their associates, needs his books adjusted. The place does $30,000 a month in actual customers. You make it look like $120,000. You inflate the covers, pad the liquor sales, adjust the food cost ratios to match the fake revenue. You've spent a decade catching people who do exactly this. Now you're doing it yourself. The IRS would need a full forensic audit to catch it, and they'll never look twice at a taco joint in the suburbs. You deliver the clean books. Your debt is erased completely. There's also an envelope with $15,000 cash. A thank you gift. The phone rings 2 weeks later. Another restaurant, then a nightclub with too much cash in the safe, then a chain of nail salons across the valley. Each job bigger than the last. Each envelope fatter. You're not just cleaning money anymore. You're building systems. Fake invoice templates. Vendor relationships with companies that exist only on paper. You create a whole accounting ecosystem for dirty cash. You're so efficient, that word travels up the chain. Someone important wants to meet the accountant who makes numbers disappear. A black SUV with tinted windows picks you up at dawn. You're not told where you're going. They fly you to Napa Valley. Private airstrip, blacked out windows the whole drive. You're taken to a vineyard estate that looks like it belongs in a magazine. The woman waiting for you is not what you expected. Mid-50s, elegant, wearing a white linen blouse with reading glasses around her neck. She pours you a glass of Pinot Noir and introduces herself as La Madrina. She compliments your work, says you have a rare gift for making problems disappear. Then she explains your promotion. You're no longer freelance. You're the CFO of an organization that moves $200 million a year. Congratulations. You don't get to say no. Your first project is infrastructure. La Madrina's operation needs legitimate businesses that generate plausible cash flow. You buy a chain of laundromats across 3 states, 18 locations, all of them barely breaking even. That's the point. Laundromats are perfect for this. Cash heavy, minimal inventory. No way to count how many people actually use the machines. You inflate the machine counts, fabricate customer traffic, doctor the utility bills to match. Suddenly, each location is doing triple its actual revenue. The IRS would need to physically stake out every location for months to prove otherwise. 18 laundromats washing clothes and $40 million in dirty money simultaneously. You expand into car washes. Same principle, even better margins. A car wash in Phoenix processes maybe 200 cars on a busy day. Your books say 800. You add detail packages that never happened, ceramic coatings on phantom vehicles, premium wax jobs for cars that don't exist. You buy check cashing stores in low-income neighborhoods. They're perfect for structuring, breaking large cash amounts into small transactions that fly under the federal reporting threshold. You're building a franchise empire that exists mostly on paper and in bank accounts. To the outside world, you're a successful entrepreneur diversifying into service businesses. In reality, you're a human washing machine. The real volume comes through trade-based laundering. La Madrina has connections in Central America, factories, shipping companies, port officials on the payroll. You set up a textile import company with all the proper licensing. You buy $2 million worth of clothing from a factory in Guatemala. At least that's what the invoices say. The shipping containers arrive full of cheap t-shirts worth maybe $50,000 on the open market. The $1.95 million difference is pure profit margin. Dirty cash transformed into legitimate import costs and accounts payable. You run this scheme 12 times a year. That's $24 million cleaned and pressed, folded neatly into the global supply chain. You get creative with technology. Cryptocurrency is the new frontier. Regulators are still trying to understand how it works. You buy worthless NFTs from anonymous wallets that you control. A pixelated JPEG of a cartoon ape sells for $500,000 to a shell company registered in the Caymans, also yours. The blockchain confirms it's a legitimate art sale between two unrelated parties. You route Bitcoin through mixers and tumbling services until the transaction trail goes completely cold. You set up an offshore sports betting platform based in Costa Rica. Millions flow in as deposits. Slightly less flows out as winnings. The house always wins, and the house is always laundering. You meet the people whose money you're cleaning. They're not the tattooed monsters you expected from movies. They're businessmen in tailored suits. Polite, educated, soft-spoken. One discusses wine futures while you review his quarterly statements. Another asks about your family, your hobbies, like your colleagues at a corporate retreat. They call you the magician because you make their problems vanish into thin air. They trust you with numbers they'd kill to protect, and have killed to protect. You realize these meetings aren't just business. They're auditions. They're watching to see if you flinch when they mention the bodies. You don't flinch anymore. You've forgotten how. The lifestyle arrives whether you want it or not. House in the hills with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the entire city. German sedan in the driveway that costs more than your parents' house. Personal chef who comes 3 times a week to prepare meals you barely have time to eat. But luxury isn't freedom. Your security detail is really a surveillance team reporting every move you make. Your driver logs every destination in a notebook. You have a go bag in the closet with $400,000 cash and 4 passports, but you know you'd never make it to the airport alive. You're not an employee. You're an asset. Assets don't resign. You can't talk to your family. It's safer for them, they tell you. Really, it's leverage. A reminder of what you'd lose. You can't have friends. A friend is someone the feds can flip. Someone who might notice your lifestyle doesn't match your tax returns. You have associates who discuss wire transfers and shell company structures. Your social life is conference calls with lawyers in Malta who never use real names. You check your car for GPS trackers every single morning. You rotate burner phones every 5 days without fail. You never sit with your back to the door. Paranoia isn't a condition anymore. It's a job requirement. You think about your old life sometimes. The fluorescent cubicle at the IRS, the GS-13 salary that barely covered rent, the retirement plan you'll never collect now. You used to hunt people exactly like you. Now you understand why they did it, why they risked everything for numbers on a screen. The money is part of it, sure, but it's really about the game, the puzzle, making numbers dance in ways that nobody else can see. You were the best auditor at the IRS, the one they brought in for the impossible cases. Now you're the best money launderer in the Western Hemisphere. Same skills, different spreadsheet. The only difference is the number of zeros and what happens if you make a mistake. You see what happens to people who make mistakes. A driver skims $15,000 from a cash shipment. He thought the amount was small enough that nobody would notice. You noticed? It's literally your job to notice every missing dollar. You report the discrepancy because you have no choice. A week later, you hear he was found in a landfill outside Bakersfield, unrecognizable. An associate gets sloppy, uses his real phone to send one text message. He simply vanishes. No body, no funeral, no questions asked. You're the biggest liability of all. You know where every single dollar is buried. You could burn the whole thing down with one phone call. The crack appears from nowhere. An old colleague from the IRS, a woman you personally trained a decade ago, gets assigned to a routine audit of one of your textile imports. She's good at her job. You made her good. She notices the invoices don't match the shipping weights. Fabric doesn't weigh that little per cubic foot. The numbers don't add up the way real numbers add up. She flags the file for further investigation, requests additional documentation, shipping manifests, customs declarations, supplier records. She's doing exactly what you taught her to do. The walls are closing in. You can feel it in your chest. La Madrina calls before the investigation goes anywhere official. She already knows about the audit. She always knows everything before you do. That's how she survived this long in a business that eats people alive. You meet at the vineyard again. Same terrace, same view of rolling hills. But there's no wine this time. No small talk. She explains calmly that you've become a problem. Not your fault. Your work has been excellent, impeccable even. But the landscape is shifting. Feds getting smarter, algorithms getting better at pattern recognition. Your name is appearing in databases it shouldn't. You're a loose thread. Loose threads get pulled. She needs you to disappear. The plan is already in motion. She doesn't ask for your input. A car accident on the Pacific Coast Highway. Scenic, dramatic, plausible. Your vehicle goes over a cliff at night, burns on impact. Dental records will be substituted. They have a body that matches your height and weight, some unlucky person who won't be missed. Your family will grieve. The IRS will close their file on a dead suspect. You will cease to exist, legally and completely. In exchange, new identity, new passport, one-way ticket to Buenos Aires. You'll continue working remotely. Different continent, same spreadsheets. You don't get to decline. The funeral is lovely. You watch it on a laptop in an apartment in Palermo, Buenos Aires. Your ex-wife cries. Your mother looks broken in a way that will haunt you forever. Former IRS colleagues send flowers and share stories about what a dedicated public servant you were. You're dead now. Officially, legally, completely. Your new name is Gabriel Santos, financial consultant for a South American agricultural export company. Same spreadsheets, same shell companies, same invisible rivers of money flowing through invisible channels. The paranoia is actually worse here. You traded one prison for another. This one just has better weather and stronger coffee. Somewhere right now, a young IRS auditor is working late in a fluorescent-lit cubicle. She's good with numbers, sees patterns others miss. She's underpaid, underappreciated, drowning in student loans, starting to wonder if the private sector might finally value her skills. Her phone buzzes on the desk. Unknown number. She almost doesn't answer. Probably spam, probably nothing. I hear you're talented with spreadsheets, the voice says, calm and professional. I represent a client who could really use someone with your particular skill set. Are you interested in having a conversation? She knows she should hang up immediately. She doesn't. She never does. Same spreadsheet, different accountant, different city, same ending. The cartel doesn't run on loyalty. It runs on leverage and desperation. And there's never a shortage of skilled people drowning in debt. That's a wrap for today. The story you just heard is fiction, but the money laundering is real. The laundromats are real. The shell companies are real. And somewhere right now, a very talented accountant is adjusting books for a business that doesn't actually have customers. If this one made you think, drop a comment. Subscribe for more. See you in the next one.